My phone lit up at 4:07 a.m., and the world I thought I knew stopped making sense. The sound was a single, sharp buzz, but the silence that filled my room afterward was crushing. My screen cut through the dark, 4:07, a text. From my 8-year-old grandson, Ben, it just said, "Grandpa." "He's in the house." My heart dropped through the floor. He didn't say "bad dream." He said, "He's in the house," I called him. Straight to voicemail. I called my son David, no answer. My hand was shaking as I dialed my daughter-in-law, Kendra. She picked up after 5 rings. Her voice was slurry, half asleep. "Dad, do you know what time it is?" "Ben just texted me. He's terrified." "Put David on." I heard a sigh. Not of worry. Of irritation. "He's a kid, Dad. He watches scary videos." "David's on a business trip. I'll check on him." "Go back to sleep." The line went dead. I sat there. 4:07 a.m. He's in the house. My gut was screaming. I pulled on a jacket, got in my car, and drove across town without turning on the radio. I parked down the block. Their neighborhood was a painting of stillness. All the lights were off, except for one. A soft greenish glow from Ben's second-story window, from his dinosaur nightlight. I walked across the wet grass, my breath making clouds in the cold air. I was going to ring the bell, to ask to see Ben with my own eyes. But as I passed the wide front window, I looked inside. And I saw her, Kendra, not upstairs comforting her son. She was in the living room, standing over the couch. And she wasn't alone. A man I'd never seen before was there with her. He was handing her something. Something that caught the faint light. It was a syringe. I didn't ring the bell. I took 3 steps back and I shoulder-checked the front door. Let me rewind the clock. My name is Arthur. I'm 68. A retired school teacher. My world is my son David, his wife Kendra, and my grandson Ben. After my wife passed, they were my anchor. Kendra worked in medical billing. She was always polished, always in control. She made David happy. She doted on Ben, I had no reason to doubt. But then came the first splinter. It was a Tuesday dinner. Ben, who was usually a chatterbox, was quiet. He was drawing. I looked over his shoulder. He'd drawn a house. And outside the house, he'd scribbled over one figure in red again and again until the paper was torn. "Who's that, buddy?" I asked. He just shook his head and whispered, "The nighttime man." Later I asked David about it. He laughed, but it was a nervous sound. "His imagination's been wild lately, Pop. You know how kids are." The second splinter was a bruise. I was helping David fix a leak under their sink. Kendra reached for a tool and her sleeve rode up. There, on her forearm, were 4 distinct purple marks, like fingerprints. "What happened there?" I asked, trying to sound casual. She yanked her sleeve down. "Oh, I banged it on the filing cabinet at work." "Clumsy me?" David just nodded, not meeting my eyes. When I pressed him later, he said, "Dad, you're seeing shadows." "She's fine. We're fine." He made me feel like I was the problem. The gaslighting had begun. But what were they hiding? After I broke in, chaos erupted. The strange man bolted out the back. Kendra screamed, called me a madman. Ben was crying at the top of the stairs. The police came. It was a mess of shouting and confusion. Kendra spun a story instantly. She claimed the man was a colleague dropping off urgent work files, that I was a paranoid, grieving widower having a breakdown. The police took statements, but without a victim's complaint, their hands were tied. David flew home. He stood in their living room, looking between his sobbing wife and his frantic father. The disappointment on his face was a physical blow. "Dad, you broke into my house. You scared my family. What is wrong with you?" I had no evidence. Only a grandfather's dread. I had to find proof. My investigation started in the ashes of my own credibility. Discovery 1, the trash. I remembered what the fleeing man had been holding. I went back the next morning, pretending to apologize to David. While he was inside, I checked their recycling bin. Buried under newspapers was a pharmacy bag. It wasn't from a local chain. It was from a compounding pharmacy 3 states away. The label was ripped off, but a receipt remained. It was for a drug called succinylcholine. A quick search on my phone told me it was a powerful muscle relaxant used in surgeries. In the wrong hands, it could paralyze someone's lungs. Discovery 2: The Witness. Old Mr. Peterson from next door saw me poking around. He shuffled over, looked around nervously, and said, "That fella in the suit? He's been here late before. Your boy's away a lot, isn't he?" He told me he'd seen the same car, a dark sedan, 3 times in the last month. He'd taken down a partial plate. It was a thread. A tiny, fragile thread. I thought I had it figured. A simple, ugly affair. Kendra was having an affair with this man, and they were planning something. Maybe to run away. Maybe to blackmail David. I took the pharmacy receipt and the partial plate to a detective I knew. A woman named Reyes. She listened patiently, then leaned forward. "Arthur, this is thin." "A receipt in a bin? A neighbor's glimpse of a car? Your daughter-in-law has filed a restraining order request against you. She says you're unstable, a danger. Without something concrete, my hands are tied." A restraining order. The words turned my blood to ice. I went to David's office, desperate. I laid out what I had. He looked at the receipt, at the plate numbers, and then at me. His eyes were filled with a terrible pity. "Dad, Kendra showed me her texts. This mystery man is her cousin. He's a pharmacist. He was dropping off medication for her migraines." "The bruise?" "She gets injections for them." He placed a hand on my shoulder. "You need help. We're going to get you help." I walked out of that office utterly shattered. Had my loneliness, my grief, truly broken my mind? For 2 days, I was a ghost in my own home. The doubt was poison. Then, at 3 a.m., I sat bolt upright in bed. The receipt. The compounding pharmacy. I got online. With the name of the drug and the pharmacy's location, I started digging on medical forums. I found a buried thread. A single post from over a year ago. A man describing how his wife had suddenly died of respiratory failure while her sister, a nurse, was visiting. He mentioned the sister had access to specialized medications. He mentioned that pharmacy. And then I saw it. In a follow-up comment, he posted a name. The sister's name. It was Kendra's maiden name. My blood went cold. This wasn't an affair. It was a pattern. A rehearsal. Kendra hadn't just stumbled into this. She had done it before. The why snapped into focus with chilling clarity. David had a sizable life insurance policy. I remembered him joking about it when Ben was born. "Gotta protect the little guy," he'd said. The beneficiary was Kendra. And then there was my house. My paid-off house. David was my only heir. If something happened to him, and then to me. It wasn't greed. It was a calculated takeover. And David was the next target. My son was sleeping next to a woman who had practiced the perfect, untraceable murder. The most dangerous secrets were the skin of everyday life. I couldn't go to the police. Not with a restraining order hanging over me. Not without irrefutable, undeniable proof. I needed them to confess. I crafted a trap built on her sense of security. I knew David was going out of town again for a single night. I sent a single email to Kendra's work address, knowing she'd see it. It read, "David left an envelope for you at my place. It's under the mat. It's about the insurance policy. He said you'd understand. I'm checking myself into a facility tomorrow, like you suggested." It was bait she couldn't resist. If she thought I was capitulating and that there was a document about the insurance, she'd need to get it. What she didn't know was that the envelope contained a voice-activated recorder. And I wasn't going anywhere. I was in Mr. Peterson's spare room across the street with my laptop open. Detective Reyes was beside me, her expression skeptical but present. I'd called her and said, "You need to hear this live. From my son's life." At 9:42 p.m., the dark sedan pulled up. Kendra got out, alone. She snatched the envelope from under my mat. She got back in the car, thinking she'd won. Her voice came through crisp and clear on the speaker. Idiot old man, signing himself away, and David leaving paper trails. Once this is shredded, it's just a matter of timing. A little something in his coffee before his flight home. Sudden cardiac event, so tragic. Then we wait for the old man's heart to give out from the grief. And it's all ours. The money, the house, all mine. Should have used the full dose on my sister. In the dim light of Mr. Peterson's room, I saw Detective Reyes's face change. The skepticism vanished, replaced by cold professional fury. She was already on her radio. We stepped out onto the sidewalk as Kendra's car started to pull away. 2 patrol cars silently slid in, blocking the street. The look on her face when she saw me, when she saw Detective Reyes, it wasn't fear. It was pure, undiluted rage. The mask was finally off. The aftermath was a whirlwind of lawyers and testimony. The recording was undeniable. The pharmacy records were subpoenaed, linking her to the drug. The old forum post became part of a cold case review. Kendra was charged with conspiracy to commit murder, attempted murder of her sister, and fraud. David was devastated, but he was alive. The divorce was swift. Ben lives with us now. We have new locks. We talk about real things, not just easy things. The fear doesn't leave quickly, but it's getting quieter. What did this teach me? Your intuition isn't noise. It's your first line of defense. The world is full of beautiful surfaces, but sometimes you have to listen to the quiet cracks beneath. That chill down your spine? That's data. Pay attention to it. The most dangerous stories aren't the ones shouted from rooftops. They're the ones whispered in the dark in the small, inconsistent details we're told to ignore. If this story struck a chord with you, if you've ever felt that quiet ping of doubt, trust it. Share this video. It might give someone else the courage to listen to their own instincts. And for the Winds of Thought community, thank you for listening. If you want more stories that dive deep into the shadows of human nature, please give this video a like and subscribe to Winds of Thought. Your support helps us keep searching for the truth.